Hello, I'm Daniel. I'm going to give a talk from the 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva today. And this is a set of teachings designed to help us reach our full potential for mindfulness and compassion, okay? And this particular verse is called Giving Up Proclaiming the Faults of Others. It's a long title. Giving Up Proclaiming the Faults of Others. So I'm going to read the verse and then I'm going to comment on it, okay? So, giving up proclaiming the faults of others. If, due to negative emotions, one speaks of the faults of other bodhisattvas, oneself will become corrupted. Hence, it is the practice of bodhisattvas not to speak of the faults of others. So, first of all, we're just calling others bodhisattvas. I'm not sure, but we are. We're saying all people have this potential to for mindfulness and compassion that we have. So, really, we could say other people who aren't even trying are bodhisattvas as well, because we share the same potential. And we want to keep that in mind. So, what is this about? When we talk about the faults of others, we're sort of reinforcing duality, our separation from them. We're making that stronger. We're building a wall. We're suggesting, when we gossip about someone, when we talk about their faults, we're suggesting that we are better than them. And we're moving away from a good practice of mindfulness and compassion if we're finding fault in other people, although this especially applies to other people that are taking this journey with us, other people that are trying to reach their full potential. If we're finding faults in them all the time, that's not a good thing. That being said, again, I feel like I'm always making this caveat, but if someone's committing a crime against you, if someone's horrendously abusing you or whatever, that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about exposing an abuser. We're talking about just that person should be more compassionate. That person should pay better attention. That person should be more like me. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about that person should be more like me and should be trying hard like I'm trying hard. That's what we're talking about here. And why do we carry this around? If we're carrying this around, it's because we want to tear others to lift ourselves up. And also, if we see people in the spiritual path kind of slacking off, then we're sort of bitter because we're trying hard. And that sort of gets in the way of what we're doing. That's disharmonious to talk about how other people need to try harder. I think there's this cliche of people going to church and judging the clothing other families are wearing, as in we need to wear our Sunday best so we look better than them. I don't know if that's as true in the modern era as it was in years past, but that's what we're talking about here. We cannot pull ourselves up by tearing other people down. We can't. It doesn't work. So that's the difference between this, what we're talking about here, proclaiming the faults of others. That's the difference between this and, say, exposing abuse. When you're exposing abuse, you're not trying to lift yourself up, right? But when you're saying that person's not very mindful and compassionate, it sort of seems like you're trying to tear them down to lift yourself up. So that's the difference, and that's the kind of view we're talking about here. And I just want to make that very clear, because I don't want anyone to study this text and think it means, oh, don't talk about the faults of others. That means don't report a crime. That's not what it means. It means what we're really talking about is gossip. What we're talking about is just I'm better than that person. The view that you're better than someone else is not helpful. Period. And also, this doesn't mean we can't make suggestions on how someone could be doing better, as long as these suggestions are constructive and helpful. People have trouble taking advice anyway, but especially if advice is not helpful, right? Hey, you should be wiser is not good advice because it's not actionable. It's not an actionable goal. And so this verse isn't about advice when we're trying to help someone. but rather it's about destructive criticism. It's about just tearing people down. Just tearing people down is not helpful. And sometimes we think it will lift us up to gossip about other people, to tear other people down, and it doesn't, really. If people see you talking bad about other people, typically they wonder what if you talk bad about them. Maybe not typically, but there's a huge potential for that to happen. I'm not going to say that happens often, or it happens, certainly not going to say it happens always, but I am going to say there's a huge potential for that to happen, and that's, just from a totally selfish point of view, that's bad. You don't want people to wonder that about you. So let's try to practice not talking about the faults of others. I think gossip, we have a big tendency to want to gossip about other people, and I don't think it helps. I don't think it helps anyone. So that's it. That's it for today. Let's try to give up proclaiming the faults of others, okay? Have a good day.